Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome to National Family Service. I am Yoshie Manaka, and I'm going to be your host for today. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. This is an international family born out of the love of our true parents, Father and Mother Moon. Yeah, if you're new here and you want to learn more about this international community and the great work that our true parents are doing, please feel free to write #connect in the comments or sign the guest book at nationalfamilyservice.org. With that, let's kick it off with our opening song.
For our opening song today, we're going to the island of Cyprus in Europe for the Choi family's performance of the song Umaya Nunaya, or in English, Dear Mom, Dear Sis.
엄마야 누나야 가면 살자 들에는 반짝이는 큰 모래빛 뒤는 밖에는 갈릭빛 모래 엄마야 누나야 가면 살자
엄마야 누나야 가면 살자 들에는 반짝이는 큰 모래빛 뒤는 밖에는 갈릭빛 노래 엄마야 누나야 가면 살자 엄마야 누나야 가면 살자.
Thank you, Choi family, for that opening song. Now let's go to Northumberland, Pennsylvania to join Dr. Mari Curry, president of RIIWT, for our opening prayer.
Good morning, everyone. Please join me in prayer. Dear most beloved Heavenly Parent, we greet you on this Sunday, full of joy and love, inviting you into our Sunday service. Please open up our hearts so that we can fully receive the message from President Naokimi, and please speak through him to guide us in this very important topic of joyful giving with our full heart, with gratitude for all that you've given to us. You're with us every step of the way. So I pray that this week, as we open up our Sunday service, that we can find those inspirational points that can guide our week and guide each day so that we can truly be your joyful children, engaging in life with true happiness and really taking care of one another. We ask that you be with us, please guide us, and really bless this Sunday service. I report to you in the Merchant Mari Curry, a blessed central family. Adieu.
Next, let's make our way to San Leandro, California for an original song by Jordan Solman titled Call Me Yours.
You are the one I talk to when life is feeling great, and when my heart is bleeding, you take my pain away. And all these nights I lie awake thinking about all your light and light. And I know now that with you by my side I feel like I have found my mind, my mind. 'Cause I've been hiding from all the things you like, all the things I like. Oh, and you've been waiting for just the perfect time for you to call me yours, for you to call me. You are the one I run to when I can't find my way, and when my hope is fleeting, you show me I'm okay. And all these nights I lie awake thinking about all your light and light. And I know now that with you by my side I feel like I have found my mind, my mind. 'Cause I've been hiding from all the things you like, all the things I like. Oh, and you've been waiting for just the perfect time for you to call me yours, for you to call me yours.
Wow, that was two amazing performances from the Choi family and also from Jordan Solman. Yeah, in the comments I could see that everybody was so inspired by that amazing, cute family. And also, yeah, what a great song, this last one. Now, it is my pleasure to welcome our Family Federation President in America, Naokimi Ushiroda, for our main message today. Welcome, President Naokimi.
Hey, Yoshie. Thanks for welcoming me. Great job so far. So good morning, good day, everyone throughout the nation. Thanks for joining us for National Family Service. Today, I wanted to share about a very important topic. I'd like to ask first, have you been tithing lately? Now, what is a tithe? And why should we even consider offering a tithe? You know, a couple of weeks ago in my sermon on having dominion over all things, I introduced tithing as a part of what it means to have proper dominion. And today, I'd like to go just a little bit deeper into the significance and value of tithing. So let's start with some basics of tithing. First basic thing to know about proper tithing is how much. How much do we need to offer for our tithe? So any children in the audience, you can answer that question. And the answer is, well, according to the Oxford Dictionary, 1/10 of annual produce or earnings to support the priesthood. If we look into the Bible, actually, this concept of tithing originates in the Old Testament. We read in Leviticus 27, chapter 27, verse 30, a tithe of everything from the land, whether grain from the soil or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. So basically, a tithe is 10% of your produce or earnings for God. So back in the day, that meant, you know, most of us were agricultural and they did farming. So they would literally bring 1/10 of the harvest to the priest and offer it up. And this was used to support their livelihood. The priests, they didn't have, I mean, their job was to care for and share God's word, but there wasn't like an organization to provide them a salary or anything like that. So they had to depend on the community to offer a tithe to support the livelihood of the priests. Now, the second basic thing to know about proper tithing is what kind of attitude should we offer our tithe with? In the New Testament, more than the amount, the attitude with which to give was emphasized. So I know that, there are naturally some challenges when it comes to money and giving a certain percentage of your income. You might have feelings of obligation or guilt, like this is an imposed spiritual tax from the church. Or for some of us, there are some real challenges of scarcity. Maybe you don't have enough, or you feel like you don't have enough money to tithe because 10% is a lot. I remember thinking back when I was in business school that the tithing model is such an amazing business model. If you think about it, no other product or service charges more than that besides taxes and housing. But yeah, so 10% seems like quite a bit to offer. So that could be a challenge in offering your tithe. Also, one other common challenge with offering a tithe is a lack of trust on how the funds are used. You may feel like, if I can't trust that these funds are being used properly, why would I give my tithe? So these are very common and understandable challenges that you may feel that may be holding you back from offering your full tithe. Well, let's see what the Bible says about this. He who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must do as he has made up in his mind, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 through 7. I really love this quote because it identifies several universal principles. The first is that the more you invest in anything, the more you gain, right? But vice versa, if you really invest a little bit, this is the same in stocks too. Lower risk, lower return. Higher risk, higher return potential, right? So the less you give, the less returns. It's just a universal principle. And another really important point here in this verse is that we are to give not reluctantly or out of duty, but voluntarily and with joy. And the third basic thing to know about proper tithing is, for what purpose do we offer our tithe? Let's read from Father Moon. Return a portion of what you earn to God as a tithe. Give 1/10 to a local church, 1/10 to the national level work, and 1/10 for the worldwide level, 3/10 in all. This was back in 1978. Father Moon gave this message before I was born. So Father Moon talks about giving 30%, not 10%. 1/10 each for the local, 10th for the national, and 10th for global activities. But I think the main point here is that ultimately the purpose of tithing is to contribute to God's work. Here's another quote about giving in the era of Cheongil-guk, which is a Korean term for the kingdom of heaven on earth. So let's read. In addition, all citizens of Cheongil-guk will provide funds for the well-being and peace of humanity, not by taxation, but by voluntary contributions. They will demonstrate the model of offering the first 3/10 of their income for public purposes. This cannot be an imposed tax. It has to be a gift that citizens offer willingly to heaven with joyful hearts. Beautiful message. Imagine a culture where citizens are voluntarily offering 30% of their income to support the peaceful development of their community, of their nation and world. It's a good thing that churches ask for money. I heard one pastor say that any church that is alive needs money. Only dead churches don't call on their members for support. So you might feel like the church is always asking for money, but let's be grateful that there's things that we need to use the money for. to really support God's work here in America and in the world. So we covered some basics of tithing, and now I'd like to go into the spiritual significance of tithing. Let's read. A tithe means that by offering 1/10 of your material possessions to God, you make a condition equal to having offered all that you have. Although you do not offer everything to God, the 1/10 that you offer with sincere devotion nevertheless holds that value. By offering 1/10 as holy, God considers the remaining 9/10 holy. Now that's a good deal. By offering 10%, everything that you earn becomes holy. Let's continue to read. You must invest devotion in your tithe. This is the essence of faith. Offering your tithe casually is not acceptable. Your offering represents your own life, so you have to offer what is most precious to you. The most precious thing to a human being is his or her life. Hence, a sacrificial offering should be made as if you were offering your own life. So here, what Father Moon is saying is that offering a tithe is an act of devotion, representing your life. It's like your hard-earned money, your blood, sweat, and tears invested into earning that money. That's what you're offering as an act of devotion, 10% of your income, and that really sanctifies your whole income. And I love this quote. Let's read. The purpose of tithing is to secure not the tithe, but the tither, not the gift, but the giver, not the possession, but the possessor, not your money, but you for God. This was an anonymous quote. I tried to find the source, but I thought it was so spot on. Again, God doesn't need the money. What he does need is your heart, your willingness, your devotion, your desire to really honor all things that they came from God. And if you're able to honor all things by offering 1/10, then by doing that, God secures your spirit, your soul. That's what God is after, is your heart that is represented when you offer that substantial tithe. It's a substantial act of devotion. Okay, so we're moving right along here. We covered the basics of tithing as well as the spiritual significance of tithing. And now let's go into the benefits of tithing. It's my favorite part. So in covering the benefits of tithing, I'd like to go over 4 areas. First, there's the spiritual, then psychological, social, and economic benefits of tithing. Let's start with the spiritual benefits of tithing. Let's read. The person who tithes will never perish. As the days go by, his storeroom will be filled with abundant material blessings. If you tithe with sincere devotion, you will never starve to death. Your descendants will never suffer for want of material things. So this is a very interesting passage. It really says that there is a connection between offering your tithe and material blessings that come. Now, you may think that that sounds like prosperity gospel. And, there is some truth in that aspect. It's not about I give for the sake that I receive more, but the principle says that everything in the universe must live for a higher purpose. And when you give, there's always a return. It's a give and take action. So the more you give, naturally, there's more that you receive. So that may not be the motivation, but that's simply a universal law. And if you can apply it, then you can see this principle working. But the main spiritual benefit that I hear here is that there's this sense of peace and protection for you and your things, your family, and your descendants when you offer your tithe. I've been, I learned about tithing from when I was younger. And I remember every time that something with an unexpected expense showed up, it made me think about, whether I was tithing or not. And just a couple weeks ago, something happened. I was picking up lunch for my family, and there was no parking in the parking lot. So I parked on the street. There was a meter, but I was literally about, just like 20 steps away from the store where I was picking up lunch. So anyway, I figured I'll just pick up lunch and I'll be on my way. I walked towards the store, take 10 steps. Before I opened the door, I realized I forgot my mask. So I go back to my car, and lo and behold, there is a parking ticket officer in her car right next to mine, and she's writing out my ticket. And I was shocked. I was like, literally, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. In the span of the 5 seconds that I stepped away from the car, I received the parking ticket. I tried to argue, but anyway, I ended up getting the ticket. The price of the ticket was $30. And I was wondering, I always, when something like this happens, I reflect on why this is so random. I haven't received the ticket in years. And so I reflected on why is that? And it was interesting because I remember just earlier that week, I had received, I was in Las Vegas, and I had received a gift from Dr. Young that came from Mother. And it was for the amount of $300. Just so happened that the ticket was 10% of that $300. And so anyway, I know that I like numbers, and I know that God speaks to me in numbers. So in one sense, I felt like it was, if I don't offer my tithe, it will be taken from me, and I will contribute and donate to some other public service like the city of Fort Lee. So I do feel like when you tithe, there is this sense of peace that comes, knowing that you've offered for the greater good. That really protects all of your spirit and your things. And your family. So I've experienced this over and over again. And I feel like if you understand that, then instead of stressing about, what could happen, offering your tithe is one of the best ways to feel at peace. So by tithing, all of your earnings become sanctified and spiritually protected. And I remember in morning devotion, Dr. Young said that tithing is like spiritual insurance or prepaid indemnity. So anyway, point is tithing does have spiritual benefits, and I want to encourage you to try it out. There's also psychological benefits to tithing. When you give, your conscience feels good. And by offering and support for God's work or for any higher purpose, by offering a donation, you're really triggering what we call in the principle mentions vitality elements, right? When you do something for others, then you receive these spiritual elements that make you feel good. So there's a real positive psychological benefit to offering your tithe. Another psychological benefit is that you get a sense of ownership over your community that you're giving to. And this is big. You're not just a customer, you're not a renter, but you're a co-owner, a co-creator that really contributes substantially to your local community. So tithing really creates this sense of ownership over your community, and that is also a very positive psychological benefit. Now, the third area is on social benefits of tithing. Let's read a passage from the Mother of Peace. More important than how much money is in a wallet is the question of how it is spent. The path of one's money shapes one's fate. According to God's word, our responsibility is to have dominion of love over all things and to share our prosperity. As explained in Genesis, God made Adam and Eve and told them to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, and have dominion over all things. This is from the Mother of Peace, page 169. So Mother Moon talks about sharing our prosperity with others, and that this is part of God's commandment and blessing to us, that we should have proper dominion over all things in this world. So in one sense, God is expecting us to take responsibility for the whole world. And think about it. Your tithe supports your pastor who is caring for other members in your community. Your tithe supports your local youth ministry, which provides guidance, care, and activities for our youth. Your tithe supports also the providential activities on the national level that Mother Moon is asking every community in America to support. Things like right now we're doing the follow-up education programs that introduces the blessing to new guests. And understand that when we share the blessing, people's lives are transformed. They receive new life, a sense of renewal in their marriage relationship. And really, one of the core essence, as we understand, that contributes to peace in the community is healthy families. The blessing directly supports the strengthening of marriages, which supports, the love for the children in that family, and so on and so forth. So really, our activities are contributing to the social welfare of our local communities. Also, we have programs like the ACLC, American Clergy Leadership Conference, that shares the blessing with their congregation. Another major project we're working on is with the Universal Peace Federation, which gathers top leaders from all around the world to discuss important issues like the peaceful reunification of North and South Korea. So the tithe has a tangible and substantial impact in supporting our society. So that is really the social benefit of your tithe. And finally, I'd like to go over the economic benefits. This one's one of my favorite areas because, again, I know I say this all the time, but I do like numbers. One practical benefit of tithing is that it can reduce your taxable income. And also, I found that by tithing, it encourages people to prepare their budgets and better manage their finances. When you have to calculate how much income you've had and how much you need, 10% of that you need to offer, then you start to look at also all your expenses. If you need to actually cover your expenses with less, then you're much more conscious and specific about your spending habits. So actually, tithing is a great way of encouraging better management of your own finances. But let's read. The more you give, the more you receive. God rewards total giving with total love and total sacrifice with total life. Giving creates room for God's love to enter. The more room and the greater the vacuum created by your giving, the faster you will be filled by the flow of God's love. This passage simply states that the more you give, the more you receive, and that God's love will fill you to the extent that you create a space by giving, a vacuum by giving. That's where God's love can enter. And it's similar to the 2 Corinthians verse passage that we read earlier, that he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. So one very important economic benefit of tithing is really having an abundance and prosperity mindset. When you give, you're assuming or you're practicing this principle of abundance. Think about it. If you hold on to all your money, then you're thinking that money is scarce, that you have to hold it for yourself, right? But when you're freely giving, then you're also opening the channel of receiving more in your life as well. And if you believe in an active spirit world that's watching over you, then naturally, spirit world is going to want to support people who are living for the sake of others, right? So this is a really powerful economic principle or spiritual principle for economic benefit, is that this mindset of prosperity and abundance can come through practicing tithing. And I'd like to introduce one more concept here, and that is expanding your tithe. Okay, what does that mean? Expanding your tithe. It doesn't mean to, increase from 10% to 20 to 30%. That's something that you can do if you want to. But what I'm talking about is to earn more so that you can give more, right? So if you're earning $100, your tithe is $10. But let's say you're earning $1,000. Now your tithe is more as well. Tithe is $100. So, I'd like to share just one story around this. It was back in 2009. There was this special request, donation request for a special blessing ceremony. And the fee that was requested was $1,000. Now, in 2009, we had just moved to New York. I had a family of 4. I had just been, let go of a previous job, and we're barely making ends meet. So I was really struggling because I wanted to make this offering of $1,000, but I just didn't have the money. And I was scared to ask my wife if I could. But anyway, we negotiated, and of course she was like, we don't have any money to give. So I said, okay, how about this, God? What if I were to offer just a portion? Instead of 1,000, let me put a deposit of $100 down now. And if and when, I ask God, help me make this full offering through a tithe by increasing our income. So I kind of negotiated with God, but I was determined to make this offering. Anyway, long story short, after that, my wife was able to get a job. I was able to find a new job, and both of us received raises. By the time it was a year later, when I found this piece of paper again, actually, I have it with me. This is 12 years ago. There was this special blessing donation for the blessing ceremony. And I wrote down, we can donate $100 now, and we will do our best to offer the rest by the end of 2009, depending on our financial situation. That's what I wrote down on the notes section. And then lo and behold, when I found this paper again, I was able to, it says here that I gave the balance of $900 on September 20 of 2010. So it wasn't exactly by the end of the year, but within a year, I was able to give that balance off of a tithe based on our combined increased income. So my point is this, Dr. Young says this often, that God is our sponsor. If we really believe that that God is supporting us, instead of trying to give a bigger piece of the limited pie, let's think of increasing the pie. Find ways, use your creativity, your innovation to increase so that you can also offer more off of your tithe. That's what I mean by expanding your tithe. So in summary, we covered some tithing basics, that it's 10% of your earnings to be offered joyfully for the sake of building God's kingdom. And in this era, if you're able, Father Moon talked about even 30%, 10% local, 10% national, 10% global. The spiritual significance of tithing is that it makes 100% of your earnings holy. So you offer 10 and it sanctifies the whole 100. It's also an act of devotion. So it's really important the attitude with which you offer that tithe. and ultimately it secures you, your spirit, your heart. That's what a tithe is about, is that by making that substantial offering that represents your life, your hard-earned money, you're symbolically and substantially offering yourself to God through the tithe. And finally, the benefits of tithing. We talked about the 4 different categories, but ultimately, you get a sense of peace through the spiritual protection by offering your tithe. You gain a sense of purpose in the sense that you're offering something for the sake of contributing to God's kingdom. And you can apply this principle of prosperity, that by offering, you're also creating a space for increasing what you're earning and increasing what you'd like to give by having that concept of expanding your tithe. So finally, the secret to being a joyful giver. The secret is, let's see, one final passage. When you give to others, don't think that you are giving to them out of your own pocket. Give out as though it were coming from a heavenly treasure. Then the person who is receiving through you is actually receiving from God. The spirit world can then help you, and God will remember everything and return it to you 10 times over. So, brothers and sisters, the secret to joyful giving is really to see what you have, not from your pocket, but see it as everything that you have came from heaven, and that you're literally offering it a portion of what you received on behalf of heaven. By having that kind of mindset, fortune, abundance, peace, all of that will follow. And you can really practice this kind of idea and concept that God's got your back, that God is your sponsor. And the more you practice this principle of giving and living for the sake of others, then again, it's a give and receive principle. The more you give, the more you shall receive. So in conclusion, if you have not been one already, please consider becoming a joyful giver today. And let us really find peace and purpose and prosperity through offering our tithes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Naokimi, for that message. I especially liked that story about how God speaks to you through numbers and sent that little message to you about how he expects you to tithe in the form of a parking ticket. To me, that's something that only someone really close to you can say, like a true parent-child relationship. And I just think that we're really lucky to have that kind of free and loving relationship with God. Let's take a moment now to reflect on this question. What memorable experience have you had with tithing and giving money or giving money? While reflecting on this, let's go ahead and hear some live reflections today. It is my pleasure to invite Pastor Daryl and Mrs. Sarah Franklin and Sun Hyun Miller to join us and share some thoughts with us. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. What about Pastor Daryl? Should we start with you? As you were receiving today's message, what came up for you?
Oh my goodness, this was dynamite. I mean, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, when we think about God, being the author of abundance, I'm just thinking to myself, how cool it is. How cool it is to give to God. It doesn't get any cooler than that. And I'm thinking about 10 years ago, I sustained an injury on my job where I was recovering. Money was getting scarce. I was on disability, and we always kept our tithe, right, Oma? We always kept our tithe, and we couldn't pay our mortgage. The rent was going down, and all of a sudden, I got this letter. This is a true story. My wife would vouch for it. I got this letter. It was from the attorney of my late uncle. $19,000. A check for $19,000. Everything belongs to God. And when we tithe, even though we're not making a whole lot of money, I still give my tithe anyway. Because the way I see it, it's an honor. It's an honor to give to God. Thank you.
Wow. How about Mrs. Sarah? Do you have anything to add?
Morning, everyone. My husband, he get very emotional. I want to cry, but actually, yes, my family and the Level family, we went to a Colombia to eat, but God never abandoned us. We are very tired. Sometimes we have $500 in the bank, and I say, I was not working in that time, but I say, God, we provide her, we give the money, and something happened. Money come from somewhere, but I say the tithe, because the tithe. We learned that from Korea. We live in Korea for 4 years. And the Korean people, they are very, 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 very deep to understand. Their conscience are deep to understand the importance of tithe. So we brought that to America. And this is we can get testimony. We have many testimony, but we have 3 minutes, sorry. But thank you to Heavenly Parents. Thank you to parents to teach us about that. This is a blessing. Don't be afraid to give. When the money go down, $500, we give $50 to the church, but never stop give 10%. That is my reflection.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for that reflection. Okay, Sanhyun, what was coming up for you during this?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great sermon. And now, Kimi, I think God is very lucky to have you as his business representative, because you make a very solid case for tithing. Now, just what was coming up for me while I was thinking. First of all, I'm a libertarian, which means that I really hate taxes. The reason that I hate taxes are because they're forcibly taken from us, and they go to some faraway power, and we never see it again. Tithing is a voluntary offering to your local community, and of course, that local community does voluntarily offer up a portion to the region, who offers it up to the nation, who offers it up to the worldwide organization. What that means is that it's a beautiful system. It's a form of governance that respects the autonomy and the dignity of human beings and the divinity of human beings. And that crucial difference that it's a choice, it means that each of us has ownership in this spiritual community that we're a part of. So I just wanted to say that first. Now, I also remembered a story about giving while Pastor Naokimi was speaking. Now, I live in Boston, and we have a lot of homeless people in Boston who like to wander around and ask people for money. Now, I had this thought in my head in the past, like, oh, I'm not going to give them money, right? There are shelters, there are food stamps. The only reason they want money is because they can't spend their food stamps on alcohol or whatever, and they want to buy. This is sort of the story you hear. I didn't actually believe that they would just spend it on alcohol, but I figured, like, they don't need this money. But then I decided, these are my brothers and sisters. Let me actually do some research. And what I learned was that the shelters and these programs, many of them are not open to the homeless because they don't have an ID. And the shelters are actually quite dangerous, and you risk getting your property stolen when you stay there. And so I realized, these people, when they're asking for money, some of them are going to waste it, but a lot of them really do need it. So I decided anyone who asks me for money, I'm going to give them $5, right? So I'm always giving $5. Some of them I feel like they're not grateful at all, but actually like 95% are very grateful. And I've had some amazing conversations with these people, just because that small amount of money opened the channel to their heart. So when it comes to our local spiritual community, I'm going to admit I barely tithe. I tithe a very small amount, but I'm going to try to do what I did with the homeless. I'm going to do some research. What is my community doing? And what I realized is your local spiritual community is whoever shows up. So if you show up, the community is you. And if you can tithe, that means you can take ownership. And so you convinced me. Now, you made a convert out of me. I'm going to talk to Aunt Catherine. And she's my local pastor. And we're going to make this happen. So that's what came out for me.
Wow, amazing. Wow. So I guess that the sermon did what it was supposed to do, at least for Sonia.
At least one person.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you all for coming here and for sharing your thoughts on the sermon. Let's go ahead. We have a challenge of the week every week. This is this week's. Commit to offering your tithe to your local church community. And if you're already tithing, encourage someone else to offer their tithe, or think of how you can expand your tithe. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our closing prayer.
Now let's head over to Clifton, New Jersey to join Pastor Atsushi Takino, Assistant Pastor of the Clifton Family Church, for our closing prayer.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Please join me in prayer. Be most loved Heavenly Parents and our true parents. Heavenly Parents, you invest all your energy, more than 100%, create this universe and create Adam and Eve. And when you see Adam and Eve, you say, this is so good. And how much you feel joy living with Adam and Eve and all his descendants. Three great blessings, that's the honor of Chonilguk. And what's the meaning of the honor of Chonilguk? I have to think about that. And today, how we can overcome our concept and how we can become owner of Chonilguk. Joyful giver. And God is living God. We are living with God eternally. Then what we supposed to do as a son and daughter of God? That I really receiving from Pastor President Naokimi. And I'm so grateful today we receive your word through Pastor Naokimi. I pray, report this in my name, Atsushi Takino, bless Central Family. Adieu.
And for our closing song, we're going to Los Angeles, California to hear the LA Band, featuring Joshua Cotter, perform the song, A Special Place in Your Heart.
Touch me now, I feel alive.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. If this spoke to you a little bit, you can go to nationalfamilyservice.org and click the Give button to support the National Family Service team, or you can write #donate in the comments. If you gained something meaningful today, please share this link to the sermon with another person, and have such a great week, and we will see you next Sunday here at National Family Service. Bye. God bless you.